Yeah, so the BESA Institute already did several tests and experiments over the last 12 months, basically showing the effects and what it does and that it works every time. And they actually have worked with a doctor's practice in Europe and are now not only just doing their BESA testing, but they're also doing live blood analysis. And we said, okay, so BESA testing is great, but we would really like to look into this physical evidence. And if they could run a study, a pilot study at first with 4 test persons, that's typically what you do in order to see if there are any differences and how it works with the distant charging of our service. And that was randomized and completely double blind. And it was amazing because in 100% of the cases, significant changes, positive changes, I must say, significantly positive changes in the blood happened in regards to the white blood cells and red blood cells all over the place. Literally everything that you can see under a dark field microscope improved significantly in just a few minutes through this distant charging. Now, even though that was happening in 100% of the cases, a study with 4 people isn't enough to get to statistical significance. So then the next step was to set up a larger study with 12 test persons, and they actually had 13 in the end of the day. So, and then the same results happened. So now that just on its own proves the absolute statistical significance. The results were incredible across the board, and again in 100% of the cases. And now it was 17 out of 17 people showed significantly positive changes in their blood, white blood cells, red blood cells, blood clotting reversal, and things like that across the board. So it's fascinating. It leaves me speechless almost every time. And when the head of the BESA Institute, witnessed that was happening, even though he knew that it would work and it should work and all of that, it was still for him. He cried when he was on the phone telling me about the results, because he said it's just so unbelievable, so amazing to see these changes and that it is possible that way.
Yeah, and that's yeah. Um, I gotta say, I mean, I was looking at this morning right before you jumped on the call, and I'm gonna walk everybody through this, but I just want to state this is profound. Okay, I'm not a young chicken, so I've been around a while. Had my fill of allopathy medicine, got into natural healing modalities, and this is what we're talking about here is physical evidence here. But I think, but before I jump into the actual results, for people who don't know what BESA is, could you kind of explain what BESA is so that people understand
Yeah.
that you didn't do these studies yourself or hire your brother-in-law?
Oh yeah,
What
yeah,
is
of course.
BESA?
Yeah. So yeah, we wouldn't know how to run these studies, first of all, and second of all, that will be just a terrible bad practice if we did this ourselves. So we hand off our products or a service that needs to be tested to institutes that do that for a living. That test technologies, that test people, and all of that. Now, the BESA Institute is the largest independent biofeedback and biosystem analysis testing and research institute in Europe, and they do these things for a living. So that's literally what they do. And so, and they're very, very detailed, by the way, and very, very thorough. So in terms of this whole study, also it took them a long time to do that, because they didn't even want to do more than 2 people, because they figured, okay, if we do this too much, maybe if we have then 10 people, maybe the effect on the first two already affects the other one. So they wanted to completely eliminate anything that could influence the results. And yeah, so that's what they do, and they set up these studies. All we hear about is, okay, that, when is the study going to start, and how many test persons is it going to be, and what's the general protocol that they're going to be testing, and that's pretty much it. And then we wait, and then we hear back, and then it's always this moment of truth, basically, and getting these results back is just amazing. But yeah, that's the BESA Institute. They work with, yeah, they work internationally, but they're well known in Europe.
Okay, so I just want to let's just benchmark that this is a third-party, independent third-party scientific organization that's all they do is do these kinds of studies. So you hire them, they do whatever they're going to do. The results are whatever they are, and you have no influence on it at all. You just go ahead and pay a lot of money for these studies to be produced. And so you in the Layla quantum tech environment, all of your products have been evaluated by BESA and IGAF and all these different entities. And the validation of quantum energy and the frequency, the concept of quantum healing has been validated with the physical objects, capsules, cards, blocks. But what makes this so profound and so unbelievably amazing to me is that you've now run studies, or you've had BESA run studies on the concept of quantum energy and healing over distance, which is called quantum entanglement. And that here are the studies when you actually applied this new quantum upgrade service to different people and what happened to them. So this is the before and after. I want to walk through this and let's talk about it. But so this particular study, now there's different ways to measure the impact of energy on a person, like whether it be Wi-Fi, EMF, whatever, but in this case, they were measuring what quantum energy does for a person, and they were looking at their blood. And so this is a blood analysis called dark field microscopy, but it's not just looking at the blood under a microscope, it's actually measuring the various components within the blood. So I want to kind of walk through that because this is what I read this morning. And again, I just want to say how profound this is. I mean, try to imagine talking to if you have an allopath doctor, and typical, went through the, the quote healthcare field, which is not really healthcare, but, and they're like the little white coat people you see for 5 minutes that, with your health insurance from your work. Okay. Those are allopaths. Can you imagine if you told them that, hey, there's a way to actually improve all of my blood. I can actually improve my health. When I sign up for a service and it's all quantum energy over distance, they would, you just know what they would say because they don't understand it. But here you go. Here's proof. And that's what I mean. And I'm just amazed. So let's start off with the most important stuff is for level set with everybody that what these studies show. Now, if you have your own block, right, and you put a picture in it, it's sort of the same concept, right? I mean, you're pretty much, you can't dial in as well as the service is. It's a kind of like an upgrade. I guess that's why you called it an upgrade, right? It has more features, but doing the same thing, quantum entanglement, quantum healing over distance. This is what it's actually doing to your blood, to the person that you're trying to help and try to heal, or the pet. And then I guess we could talk a little bit more about what would that do to a car or a business, right? But let's talk about just a person, because this is what I think all of us are most adamant about is how do we help heal our pets, our family, our loved ones, and I think that's where we all start. I think that's the starting point for everybody is helping our friends and family. So the thing about analyzing blood, and I just want to point out some things without getting too technical, is it looks at all of these different things, right? So you look at I don't even get into the science of it, but see on this side is what they're measuring for. And if you read these, and then by the way, these studies are going to be available on the website, right? So anybody can just read these. Okay, so all of this is full transparency. everything's going to be out there. You guys can evaluate it yourself. But when you read this, this is what they're measuring. And then over here is the explanation of why it's important or what it does for you. So like right here, it's like this, this aspect of your blood affects your immune system. This aspect of your blood affects your stress tolerance or cellular metabolism, immune system, detoxification, all this stuff. So this is why these different categories are so important, because when you do a full-on blood analysis, you're measuring all the different things in your blood, which is, that's why they call it your lifeblood, because your blood is that is like literally the most important thing in your body. And it carries all the oxygen and all that. It just does everything for you, right? Your blood is the most important thing in your body, keeping you alive. And so here's all the different attributes of your blood. It can determine the load on your kidneys. It can determine bacterial infections. It can determine all these different things about your health, right? And so here we go. So they did a full-on blood analysis of all of these different attributes to determine what happened to people before and after they were exposed to the quantum upgrade service. And this is some of the results. And so this is all going to be there. You guys can download all this. I'm just going to walk you through it. But when I first saw this, Philip, I'm just blown away. I mean, look at this. Look at the count. So here's a before and after. Proband 1 just means this is test subject 1. Right? There's test subject 1. Proband 2 is a second person. 3, 4. These are your different people. That's what proband means. So in the very first person, right, they measure him before, him or her. They don't know, right? It's just all blind. And this person showed basically right here. This is kind of like the bad stuff. They had a money roll formation. That's when your blood clots up into little, like they call it relay formations. They look like little rolls of coins. And when you do that, you have really low oxygenation. I never get that word right. And you have and it's really bad for you. It means your blood's all clumped up. You're not getting enough oxygen, and so forth. They look at this. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Count leukocyte, and then they look at the fillet information, which is it measures your oxidative stress. It measures water and oxygen in the blood, and then this one here, these different colors measure the flow property of the blood and the cell membrane vitality. All, like I said earlier, you could look at the top part here, familiarize yourself with what these different things mean. They all affect different parts of your health. And what happens? So before, basically the blood was clumped up and it wasn't very healthy, very low numbers on the stuff that's important. So this is the stuff that's bad. These two colors here, these things right here, this is important. You want that to be high and you want these to be low, right? Bottom line, if you read the description. And then after they exposed. So could you talk about after they were exposed? So what is that like? Like they sign up. So this is if a person signed up for the service and you turned it on, and this is like the next day, or is it, is how like what is quote after? They,
So as
1
soon as
hour,
you,
1 day? Yeah.
so if you sign up for the service, then you need to go into my account and you need to select your time zone. And that's the minimum you need to do. You can then also play around with the Hawkins scale and all of that, but at minimum you need to set your own time zone, and then you click on, I think, update. And that's after clicking that, that's when the service starts.
Wow.
And
Okay, so it's that
this
fast.
here, yeah, and so this, what you see here, wasn't after a day or so. That was about, I think, 10 to 15 minutes of charging. So I
Wow.
think it was literally just 10
Okay.
minutes. And I think after, 10 or 15 minutes, they took the next measurement. And yeah, and they also took videos, frankly, and they were able to even see how it's changing.
Yeah. If you, yeah.
As soon as the energy comes in, it is indeed profound.
Yeah.
And yeah, on all levels, as you said, those aspects changed and improved, like the money rolls, for example, or you can call it blood clotting. But then again, which was interesting because we know people that have followed that in the past, Dr. Rubik in the US was the first one to actually tell us that the white blood cell motility and activity also improved significantly, because that's one of those things that happen with EMF, that your white blood cells, which are directly linked to your immune system, they get paralyzed. and so then they are inactive, and so the the energy was able to make them active again and increase this activity and motility. And this happened here too. So they specifically looked at that as well, which is profound, because that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If you want to be healthy, you want to have a healthy immune system. It's not really going to happen without a healthy immune system.
Right. So okay? So after like roughly 15 minutes, um, this person's blood analysis, and there's two different sets of documents, so you can actually look at the actual study themselves. This right here is literally just a summary, but these graphs are actually present within the studies themselves. I encourage everyone to read this. I mean, this is an investment in your health, and I encourage everybody to kind of understand, what that value of that investment is. But here, this is the first person. Immediately, his blood turns from being kind of clotted and basically, barely doing what it's supposed to do, to all of a sudden, boom, it's open, it's free, the oxygen's flowing, the membrane valve, it's everything's just immediately better after 15 minutes. And this is quantum entanglement. He's not touching anything. This is just in a room and somewhere far away. They're sending him quantum healing. So here's another person, proband 2, same thing, really highly clotted, really low performance on blood performance. I'll just call it that. And then all of a sudden, this guy doesn't go to zero, but the negative aspects of the blood drop and the positive aspects of the blood go up. And then again, another one where basically the negative, positive, and then the negatives go down, the positives go up. This isn't, like you were saying, right? All 17 subjects, this was 100% of them experienced positive benefits, right?
Yes, that is correct. 100%.
So every single one of these persons. So this one here right now, proband 4 is interesting, because I noticed that this was the first one that actually they measured the parasitic load. Okay. And that's kind of an extra attribute that I didn't see in the other probands. And so here's something this is mind blowing. Okay. But here you go. This is the parasitic load, and it goes from a 7, right, in the blood analysis, and it drops to 2. Okay, that's literally like 300% decrease almost, right? So doing math in my head.
Yes.
But look at the decrease in parasitic load. And so for everybody, and this kind of goes back in time, right? Because how many people have experienced Layla Q, quantum energy, and then said, and some, and not all of them, but there's been several people over like the last couple of years that I've been doing this with you, where they report that, hey, they don't, it's like they feel like a little nauseous sometimes, or they feel a little queasy, or it's like, or they kind of get exposed to it, and then they got to take like a capsule with the 5 spheres. They try all 5. It makes them feel a little weird, so we tell them, hey, take the capsule, the spheres out, and just start with the empty capsule or just one sphere, right? Which is the same concept of quantum energy on a Hawkins scale, right? Is that in terms of the amount of energy coming to them. But this is it right here. This is where the science comes in. Bottom line is quantum energy is decreasing. It's improving your blood so that the blood's flowing better, and it's basically detoxing you, and it reduces your parasitic load, because your body's able to flush it out faster and better. And that's why people, and so this all of a sudden the light bulb went off in my head when I read this page, and I realized, that's why people are having those experiences. Because I never considered once for that quantum energy could reduce a parasitic load, but it makes sense that if it improves your blood's basically how your blood is the process by which you haul out all your pathogens, and your digestive system, right? But your blood is one. If it's anything in your blood, it needs to be moving quickly and functioning really high to eliminate all those pathogens, molds, fungus, bacteria, and viruses in your bloodstream. And there you go. It's just this is. I mean, did you notice this, or did you guys talk about
Yes.
this at BESA? What did they say about this? Because
Yes, and
this is new. You never ever did a parasitic load study. I just go ahead.
that is correct, and I'm grateful that they did it. And indeed, if you think about it, this is this is very, very profound, because also people need to understand that we're, like you said before, the blood is, I mean, the blood is within us, right? And the blood is pretty much everywhere. And if it's if it's in bad shape, we're in bad shape. So it could not be underestimated to look at a healthy blood, um, and get it to that point. Now, there's yeah, it's just mind blowing. I don't even know what else to add at this point, because it really works on all of those levels. And yeah, I'm still speechless sometimes.
Yeah, this one right here, Proband 4 is very fascinating because they have like the positive markers. They're like it's really weird. Everybody else is like really high bad stuff, low good stuff, but this guy's high good stuff and bad stuff, right? And then he switches over to all of a sudden his blood starts flowing really, really high. It's like 8 times what it was before. And his good stuff kind of goes down a little bit, but then his bad stuff just goes down too. So, yeah, this was really weird, but it's definitely a
And
beneficial, positive effect, especially on this
and
parasitic load thing. Is
and
just
for people to understand, so it's the quantum energy is providing the possibility for the body to initiate these changes, because in the
yeah,
end of the day, it's your body that kicks in suddenly into the self-healing mode, right, and into the mode of really pushing through. But because of all the exposure that we have throughout the day and throughout our lives, frankly, with bad air, bad food, and the EMF soup we live in, and other stress, frankly, right? We need to pay our bills, and I don't know, our kid had an accident. All these stressors that always, as soon as these stressors come in, we can operate and function a little bit less. And then, the body is constantly just playing catch up. And so what happens is, if you're getting this increased level on the Hawkins scale or increased quantum energy field that you then have available, it's almost as if it's this, your battery can recharge, and you're tapping into this extra load, and you're taking that, and your body is taking these actions suddenly that it's otherwise not really able to do. That is what's happening. So that the energy itself doesn't just do all these things on its own. It's really providing it for your body to get into this gear of, now I can take this on and I can take that on. And obviously, if you do that on a longer term basis, there's much more that you can achieve. But it's absolutely profound that you can see something like this here already happening within 10 to 15 minutes.
yeah. I don't want to beat this up too much because people can read it, but I just want to point out one more person in the test. But this person came in high triglycerides, and for those of you guys watching your cholesterol, that's one they look at, right? So this guy's got high cholesterol, he's got blood clotting, he's got signs of inflammation and allergies, he's got protein clumping, kidney stress. I mean, this is not a very healthy person. And then boom, as soon as he experiences quantum energy, his blood starts to flow, all of his stress indicators are down. So these, just make a note that when you're reading this, that the attribute that they're measuring changes by person, right? So they're measuring different things for different people just to see what's changing. And you can see just unbelievable improvement by all of these markers going down, because all these markers are negative markers, right? So keep an eye out for what they're actually measuring. So it's not always from frame to frame to frame. It's not consistent as to what they're measuring. So you have to kind of make sure you read. Because when I saw this, I'm like, why do they all go down? I'm like, oh, because they're all bad, and then they all got much better. But try to imagine those of you watching your cholesterol, and it goes from what is that, the yellow one, a 7, right? It goes from a 7 to a 1 after 15 minutes. That's decreasing the cholesterol. Amazing stuff. So let me jump back, and again, all of this will be on the website. But it's the proofs in the pudding. This is it. These are the studies that validate the claims on the website.